Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rogue Wave podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind it. We talk comics, movies, TV, and pop culture every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on youtube.com/Rogue Matter, facebook.com/We Are Rogue Matter, twitch.tv/We Are Rogue Matter, twitter.com/Rogue_Matter. Then all of that wonderful stuff gets prepackaged into the greatest podcast known to man, and is available on all major podcasting apps. I'm your host, Michael Dolce, as always, joined by my cohort in crime, the Lord of the Radio himself, Mr. Hassan Godwin, and joined by very special guest. It came from the radio co-host, which Hassan was a part of for many, many years. Mr. Mark Torres, how you doing, sir?
Hello. How do?
I'm doing great. See, it's nice. It's nice to we change it up a little bit, and because of your familiarity with Hassan, it's an easy. Like usually we don't extend this invite because we're just afraid for the guests, but now
I feel privileged.
Yeah, you get the VIP treatment. Do you guys ever when you talk, like when you're actually doing like radio spots, get lost in your own words at some point? Like at one point I've literally said that opening so many times that the words themselves lost meaning, and I didn't even know if I was saying the right. I didn't even know what I was saying. I just knew, like it just came out without. I was like, youtube.com/Rogue Matter. I'm like, is that the actual address? I don't know, but that's what it just sounds like it should come out of my mouth. Has that ever happened, Mark, when you guys were doing the radio?
Yeah, because I have the same spiel over and over and over, and you just kind of hit the same points. And sometimes if you get thrown off, it messes up the whole dialogue. Like one word or a thing, you're like, wait, did that? It doesn't flow.
I almost
anymore,
did.
So you have to start over again. Yeah.
I almost went into a black hole, like in my head of like, is that? I almost felt like I was high, like in college when you're like, maybe
Never
I
had
am.
the experience, so
maybe I'm
can't
not
help you
here,
with that.
you know, like I don't know. Like this is it was a very deep microsecond that happened during that opening spiel. So it was pretty exciting. So Mark, you have some cool stuff happening, right? You've got a Kickstarter coming out.
Yes, it's currently happening right now, this very second as we speak. It's called
And where can people get it, and what is it about? Tell us all about it.
It's on Kickstarter right now. It's Designated. It's a 30-year story, which actually ties into Hassan very, very nicely. If you remember Hassan, it all came about when Hassan and I were in the New York Academy of Comic Book Arts and Fantasy Illustration. Do you remember that, Hassan?
I don't remember that. I didn't remember the title of it.
I remember being there. You remember the school?
Yes, I remember the school.
And it was toasty warm. It was toasty warm.
Yes, it was always very toasty warm in there. Yes.
So, it all started back then. So myself and Hassan, I would assume Hassan, I would not take it to go that far. That you also wanted to be in comics, which is why you were there. But I did.
I wanted to be a lawyer, and I just kept getting sidetracked.
I could see you being a pretty good lawyer. Actually. I'm not gonna lie. You might have made the right choice.
Wait,
you know,
we're all here. Okay.
Usually I'm like, and this speaks nothing to your talent, Hassan, because you're an amazing artist. But holy cow, man, you would be like a killer lawyer. Like you'd be like the guy.
Yeah, I messed up. I should have been a lawyer instead of comic book stuff. But
you could be a comic book lawyer.
Well, I'd feel
it's not too late. It's not too late to be a comic book lawyer.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yes, there's a lot of comic book people who need the law. So yeah,
right.
That'd be a good vocation. Maybe so. Maybe if the Kickstarters fail, that's the next thing. I'm off to law school.
So in the class in the school that we were in, I was there to learn a couple things. And one thing we learned at the time, if you remember, correct me if I'm wrong, Hassan, that for about $2,000 you can make your own comic, because this was the 90s and Image was just coming out, and they were like, hey, about $2,000 you can make your own comic. And I was like, I think I can make $2,000 aside. Obviously I was wrong, but I thought I could. And the other discussion at the time, Hassan, once again, correct me if I'm wrong, was how do you break into the business without losing your ownership of your character? Because that was the discussion at the time, was ownership and creatorship, which is now IP, but back then it was like, how do you maintain control of your characters? So the idea was that you make something that you're willing to lose a piece of to get your foot in the door, and therefore, once you're in the door, you can make the story that you wanted to make. So I had my regular story that I had wanted to do, and then Designated, which was under a different name at the time, was the item to get into, since I was willing to lose. So sadly, it's been 30 years since I made that story.
We don't use numbers here on Rogue Wav.
It percolated, and now it's more important to me than the actual original story that I had came up with that I wanted to use as my main story. So that's how Designated came into inception.
You know what I found is a lot of times people like the effort to put together just one, like anything, one comic, one story, whatever. It feels like such a hurdle that you just feel like, okay, I've done it. I've done everything I can. I'm going to do everything toward this one goal. And then when it actually happens, you either think to yourself, well, all right, what's next? And the next story comes even easier, or things like come even easier, and now you have the experience. Or, you sit there and you say, no, I've done I remember doing Sire way back when, and I'm like, no, I put everything into Sire. Like the first iteration of Sire was Crossfire, and I didn't get accepted anywhere. Distribution, publishers, nothing. And I'm like, crap. And it took me it took me longer. It took me 4 years to get everything kind of reshuffled. Like it knocked me down so much that it took me a while to get myself back up again. But I think that's what happens with a lot of folks. Like if they put a lot of effort into something, or this one story or whatever the case is, it just doesn't. It takes a while to it's either got to click, or people have to do some real soul searching as to whether or not they want to be doing this comic book thing or not.
Well, if it makes you feel better, what is Mike's name that I always used to call him, Hassan?
I don't know.
Sire guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's
it. It worked. I knew my Sire guy for the longest time.
I know, and I love it. I actually love it. It's something that I will forever be proud of, and it's great because it's still going on. I just have to finish issues 12 and 13 now, which are about a year late, but it's okay. They'll get there. They'll get out there. We're busy doing a lot of other
guy from now on.
What's that?
I'm gonna call you Sire guy from now on.
You should. I'm down with that. Go follow me at Sire Studios.
Sire guy.
So we'll talk a little bit more designated.
By the way, everybody we ever interviewed on both shows, whenever asked, and I think Mark would invariably or inevitably ask the same question to every comic book creator. It was like, what advice would you give? And every one of them said, don't make comic books. So, obviously this comic book road, it's a hard road to travel.
One guy was like, join the army.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. One guy said, be an astronaut. It's easier than making comic books. So there you go.
There about it too. I mean, we were just in San Diego. I was just in San Diego with Rogue Matter, and we were actually going through Artist Alley looking for new artists. And one of the questions we kept asking is like, where are your sequentials? No one's doing them anymore because it's really hard. It's not an easy thing, and to be able to do them at a reasonable rate, at a reasonable pace, I don't mean rate in terms of page rate. I mean just actually able to deliver. That was my downfall. That's why Sire is so late, because I thought, well, I'll draw the next version, and I was so dissatisfied with the inconsistency of my artwork that I'm like, no, I can't. And I just hired 2 artists to finish the book, so the book will get done. And now I'm thinking to myself, you know what? It goes back to that age-old question: am I doing an art project, or am I actually making? Am I telling a story? And I have to, sometimes you just have to kind of bite the bullet and just focus on one area. And a lot of that, when you're younger and you don't have any money, it's like, well, I'm just trying to, save on overhead. But at the end of the day, it's a chicken and egg kind of theory. Because if you don't produce work fast enough, you won't make any money. If you don't make any money, you can't produce more work. So it becomes this hamster wheel scenario. So.
It's the 2 out of 3 rule. It's 3 things. You need to have a good, fast, and cheap, but you can only get 2 out of the 3 at any one time.
Yep. No, I agree with that. So we will dive more into Designated a little later. We're gonna go all around the Rogue shortly as well too. But we start off every episode going and diving into what is happening on Rogue Matter right now, and this is the project that I am insanely jealous of. So every time a new issue comes out, I truly encourage. We just launched a We just revamped the website again. It's launched today, so it's even easier to find and read all of your favorite Rogue Matter projects. And then we also have a store there now too, so you could buy them if you really, even though you can read it for free. If you think it's that good, you can also purchase it digitally or in print. Simply go to the store and check that out. But this is Until I Die. It is an homage to the Brat Pack era of the 50s, but what if the Brat Pack were really secretly CIA agents? And I know. It's like, it's one of these concepts where you hear it and you're like, damn it, I wish I would have came up with that. And then you read it and not only is the concept good, but the art and the story is so good that you're like, damn it, I wish I wrote this. I wish I was the one that was actually doing it. This is a very pivotal issue as well. I don't think, so it's funny. It's supposed to be, again, for if anybody's reading this, it's supposed to be an homage to the Brat Pack, but really it's kind of like the Brat Pack is there. But we don't disguise Marilyn Monroe, because I guess Marilyn Monroe is okay to talk about.
She's in the multiverse.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's the same
exactly.
in every universe.
Yeah. So, issue 3, having decided what is truly important to him, Dan Robbo informs the rest of the team he is ending his involvement with the CIA for a life with Marilyn instead. But he arrives at the hotel where he discovers her body, and
and unfortunately, that happens in every universe too.
Yeah,
she doesn't live long in every universe.
Well, check this out. Let's do it. Oh man, wait. All right, no one listening here can steal this idea. It's patent pending now. Marilyn 2.0.
I have no idea what that entails. I don't.
That means she's not dead, and she's maybe she becomes like an adventurer. Oh man, yeah.
Oh boy, those wheels
so it's
are
like the one with Jet Li.
Yes. Every time a Marilyn dies, the Marilyn 2.0 gets stronger, right?
Well, no, let's not say we're going to copy Jet Li the One. Let's say we're going to homage it. We're going to homage it. Oh, I think this could work. I mean, I really think that could. Marilyn 2.0. Marilyn discovers she dies in every single version of the multiverse and has to...
No. Norma Jean discovers she dies in every single version of the multiverse when she becomes Marilyn Monroe. So she avoids becoming Marilyn Monroe, and that sparks off a whole new adventure of that unravels the multiverse in some way.
Oof, man, it's like it writes itself, right?
Yes, it's like butter.
Sometimes you just got to come up with a name, like a title, and it's like Marilyn 2.0. Boom, done. Like, there you go. Done.
You write that one. I'm busy.
You heard it here.
It writes itself.
You heard it here. Copyright and patented 2022 Michael Dolce. No.
We get tricked out of it. It's always a Michael Dolce production. Don't worry.
I actually just came up with a new idea for a new podcast too. Is you get a bunch of creative people in a room for a podcast and just start throwing out titles and see what they come up with.
The podcast should be called Boom. Boom. Got it.
Now, Boom Studios, we'd be in trouble. Then we'd know everything. Then everything would be a Keanu Reeves film.
The podcast is just called Boom.
No, I know, but I'm saying Boom would be like, you can't use that name. That's our,
His marketing mind right there.
You can use the podcast Boom. He doesn't have a monopoly on the word boom.
Yeah, they do.
No, they don't.
They could come to your house and beat you up. Okay. It's in the fine print. You never read that?
They could come to your house.
Oh my gosh, yeah, they'll definitely come.
That is the best clause ever in the contract ever made.
No, it isn't. Think how cost prohibitive that is. Like, oh man, we got to go to Wyoming now and beat some guy up. I had a meeting. This afternoon with Spielberg, but nope, we got to go to Wyoming and beat some kid up who started a podcast.
That actually feels like that could be a real thing, though. I'm just saying. It definitely does. Like, because
would you get on with it?
Go check out Until I Die.
That. You get in the bus. It's the beat down bus. You got to drive around.
Look at that bus. See?
He knows it. He knows it.
Do you remember weekly installment of like 35-second episodes of people like, who are we in the bus to beat down today? And then we give all the lifts.
The beat down bus. That could be the podcast.
Yeah. Do you remember the Sakaja Penny, Hassan?
Yes.
What is that? Now?
That's what we would beat him down with the sack of pennies.
Sack of pennies.
Oh, sack. Oh, the.
So, do you want? Do we have time to go into the story?
Sure.
You do
whatever
it.
you want.
So, one time,
the longer we go, the more we cost Drug Matter money. So I'm down with it.
The one time Hassan and I were in Manhattan together, and we were driving around the city, and a taxi cab driver decided to cut me off and hit my car.
Oh no!
But it was in such a way that my tire went under his thing, so there was no damage. We just kind of we were just kind of stuck for a minute.
Yeah, the fenders were hooked.
Something like that.
The plastic facade fender was hooked on his. I forget exactly how it.
Right, but I just remember there was no damage. It just fit in such an odd way
that was with New York Comic Con. That was one of our New York Comic Con adventures.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I'm the driver and Hassan is a passenger, and the guy, the taxi cab driver comes out and he just starts saying stuff, and Hassan's like, "Arr," and he gets out, being Hassan, "Arr, I'm gonna handle this," and he's saying stuff. And we're like, dude, just back the car out. We're good. We're no damage. We're fine. And then we started talking about that. We were making fun of the cab driver. I remember that. And how he was like, my friend. That's all he was saying. And we were talking about how that Hassan was ready to go beat him up with a sack of quarters in a sock.
Yeah, I had a bunch of quarters from the show. I had a lot of change from the show.
Wow. And
I wasn't going. Okay, for the record, I was going to hit the guy.
But we were just joking about.
Yeah.
I know you would never hurt a fly.
So
that's not true.
Cab driver, maybe,
I killed
but not
thousands of flies.
It turned into the. We were like, oh no, it would be a Sacagawea coin.
Yeah, that was when the commemorative Sacagawea penny was out instead of Lincoln. It was like Sacagawea.
So we were like, yeah. So he would hit him. He would go Sacagawea when he hits him with the roll. And I was like, yeah, well, we can't afford that, so it's got to be a penny because we're poor.
Yeah.
So it would be a Sacagapenny. So he goes Sacagapenny, and he would hit him with the things like that'd be a great villain to run around called Sacagapenny.
You know,
roll.
Sacagawea was my favorite historical figure, like when I was in middle school, just because I thought that would that's just an awesome that's like the Kool-Aid Man, like you could just come in and just like Sacagawea, like one of those things where it just felt like
just comes through the wall.
Right, yeah, like every time I would just come in and just do that because it's
instead of Kool-Aid, she just gives everybody a quarter.
Yeah,
so just run out there and Sacagawea, quarter, penny.
Penny.
It's a whole group of people.
What I like now is that we have completely.
Mark and I don't get high too. That story is a product of us being absolutely sober out in the city.
I bet you'd be less interesting high. I feel like you would be actually. I can't. So I don't. I mean, I've partaked, a handful of times.
Don't get yourself fired.
What's that?
Don't get yourself fired.
No, look, dude, it's legal.
Remember the rule of the show.
I was walking around New York City today. That's the one change that has happened now since marijuana is legal. If you walk around New York City, Manhattan, you smell it everywhere. Like I'm just walking down blocks and now it's like, oh, yep, wow, okay. It's like, and you'd be surprised. It's not like your typical person that would have been smoking weed now. It's like old ladies just lighting up in the middle. I literally looked around and I saw this old lady with a shopping bag and just clearly lighting up a doobie right next to me, and I'm like, all right, cool. Like, hey, it's legal. Go for it and have fun.
Oh my god! This is how non into that stuff I was. I didn't know that doobie was a code for drugs, so it made me think of that episode of What's Happening with the Doobie Brothers. I didn't know the connection until years and years and years later. And they're like, oh, it's a doobie. It's like, wait a minute. So they were the Doobie Brothers. So they were smoking weed. What's happening? Oh my god!
Doing a lot more than that. They were probably doing a lot more than that.
But yeah, so it was like, holy crap! It was a revelation for my life, a lifetime of not knowing.
Yeah.
Out that the Doobie Brothers.
That's why. What's his name was Michael Douglas was so upset that they broke up in Romancing the Stone. I mean, they were smoking. They found a crash plane with apparently a Colombian smuggler had crashed his plane, and they found a pile of weed. and so they just started burning the weed because they were stuck in the jungle. And he was reading a newspaper from, I don't know, 20 years ago because the guy had crashed. And he was like, "Oh man, the Doobie Brothers broke up." Then he read the date. He was like, "Well, when did that happen?" Just to tell you how long that fucking plane had been there.
I love it. We have sufficiently wasted 20 minutes of Rogue Matters time and money. I actually not wasted their time because, quite frankly, well, no, their time, not our time.
This is quality filler entertainment, man.
I agree. I don't think we've done anything wrong here. All right. When we come back, we're going to go all around the Rogue with Mark, and he's gonna answer the question: is Marvel better than Star Wars? When we come back. Hi guys, Mike Dolce here from the Rogue Wave podcast. If you like this video, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. It really helps us out. Leave a comment, let us know what you'd like to see in future episodes, and tune in every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern for a brand new episode of the Rogue Wave podcast.